Hey guys, welcome to your life path. This is episode 2. If you haven't yet, please like and follow my page. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. That's right. And it's u.r.life.path. And so today, guys, I'm going to talk about something that's a little more personal, a little more raw, a little more vulnerable on my end. And it's something that I feel that nobody really talks about, but it's something that we all experience, right? So that's kind of crazy if you think about it. But that's loss, right? And that can be losing a family member, whether a parent, uncle, aunt, cousin, son, daughter. It can also be losing, someone that you truly cared about in a relationship, or, your pets, right? There's different types of losses, different ways that we deal with them and grieve with them. And I just kind of want to share my experience and what I have found to help me during those hard times. And so the first loss that I've experienced was losing a grandparent, on my mom's side and on my dad's side. And that all happened during my teenage years. First, it was my grandma on my dad's side, and then my grandpa on my dad's side. Then I lost my grandma on my mother's side, and then lastly was my grandpa on my mom's side. And when that happened, I remember going to the funeral, and when my dad's dad passed away, I could not walk into the funeral home at all. Like, I just couldn't. It was like if there was like this repellent not allowing me to get in, like a barrier. And it was crazy because all I could think of in my head was, what if that was my dad? Right? And I just remember crying in the car, and my sister Karina was like, hey, like, you need to go inside. And I was like, I can't, like, I just can't. I can't be here right now. And I remember just taking off and just going to my house and just bawling and crying, right? Well, fast forward to 2022, September 16th. I actually did lose my dad. And it was probably the hardest thing I've had experienced in my life. Because that's someone I consider a hero to me. And he's the one who raised me. He taught me how to be a man and how to work hard. And he taught me everything about construction, actually. So, he's very precious to me. He was someone that I admired, and I loved everything he stood for. And the relationship he had with my mom, I was able to see what true love was. Two people married through thick and thin, always together, for 40 plus years. And so when I saw them, and then till they were old, they'd always be doing things together. So that gave me hope, and that gave me clarity on what it is I wanted in a relationship. And so couple months before that actually happened, I was able to be my dad's provider. Something told me to do it, and just circumstances happened that I ended up being his provider. And for the 3 months, it was almost like God just kind of like putting us together. But for 3 months before he passed, I was able to spend every single day with him. And it's because I noticed before that he would just do everything on his own, like go to his doctor's appointments, go do checkups, go do all these things. And I was like, Dad, like, no one's with you. So I made it a point to show up for him and be there with him. And little did I know, those 3 months was the last 3 months that I would spend with him. And I'm so thankful that I got that opportunity, that God made that possible, because I didn't know what was going to happen next. And this was during the COVID. And so he ended up getting COVID and was hospitalized. And he was in there for almost like 3.5 weeks, going almost 4 weeks. And I remember just thinking like, man, like my dad never got out of the hospital. And I remember being outside in the parking lot the night before he actually passed and praying to God. And I remember praying, asking God to take me instead. To let my dad live, because he had so many people that he would leave behind that loved him. And well, me, I was single. I didn't have anybody, so I was like, God, like I'm trying to make a deal with God, right? And I was like, please, like if you can just take me instead, which is really selfish of me to say, right? But I remember just crying, knowing that I think this might be the last time that I'll see my dad alive. And so the next morning, we're there. It's me and my mom. We stayed there overnight, and the doctor calls us like at 10 in the morning. And he tells us that my dad is no longer able to breathe on his own. And he hadn't been for a week or so, almost 2. And he asked my mom if we should let him rest and pull the plug. And when you're in those moments, like it's something that one prepares you for. It's something that you never want to experience. But when God causes people, like it's their time to go. And selfishly, like we're like, no. It's me. I was like, no, don't take him. I don't want my dad to go. And looking back at it now, it's real selfish of me, because my dad he had leukemia for 10 years. He battled leukemia for 10 years, which was amazing. That guy is such a warrior. And every day he had to take 20 plus pills, right? So his quality of living was diminishing. And for me to be selfish to say, no, I need my dad more time, like. And so I was able to come to terms with it, be at peace. And it took time, because after he passed away, like actually burying him, it really just shook my whole world. And not just me, my whole family, my sisters, my mom, all his brothers, and just everybody. And I can honestly say, after that, my life started changing for the better, right? In the midst of it, there's so many emotions that you just don't know how to cope and handle things. And for anybody who's lost a loved one, they know what I'm talking about. But it's like a part of your heart's just ripped away. It's gone, right? And it's something that you just can't come back from. It's something that you have to learn to live with. And in those times is when you really need your faith and a support group to help you get through those times, because it's really, really hard. It's super hard. And for me, I saw my mom, who's she constantly, was in her faith. I would always go to church like 3 times a week, always praying, always just devoted. And I saw that, and And at that time, I had resentment towards God because of what happened. I was so upset. I was just like, God, like, why'd you let this happen? You know, I was angry, and it kind of pushed me away from my relationship with God. And it took some time to heal, you know, and I was in a dark place with my emotions and alone, you know, just trying to understand what happened. And so when I saw my mom, it was very powerful because I saw like this woman just lost her husband, the man that she loved, the man that she lived with for almost 50 years, who created all these children who have a family together. And I saw her strength, and I saw that her faith was so strong that it made me question mine. And I was like, if my mom's this strong, like, why would I turn away from God? Right. And so so that made me go to church. And I actually I remember going to church. I won't say the name. And I remember just sitting there, and it was like on a Wednesday. They were doing like a prayer meeting, and you know, everybody's just worshiping. And I remember just feeling like the presence of God, and it's like a tingliness all over your body. And I remember just saying, God, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Help me heal. Show me how to deal with this pain that I have inside. And I just started crying. I got on my knees. Luckily, I was in the back, you know, in the back row, but I was just on my knees, like head down, just bawling like a little baby. And, you know, at that moment, things started changing for me for the better. I was able to, I was able to be okay with what happened, right? I was able to process it. I was able to cope and understand, you know, like things like this happen, you know, sad to say, but we're all going to die one day, right? And so it's something that I've learned not to fear over time. Like, you know, when my time comes, it will come. But when I lost my dad, I felt like my world started changing for the better. And I can't explain it, but I felt like his presence, his aura, his energy from then on was always with me, like till this day, like still with me. And that's when I can say that I started really diving in deep into my spiritual journey. And it's helped me so much. And, you know, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. And if it wasn't for that exact moment, I wouldn't have changed my life to be more reflective of, you know, what God wants for us, you know, living in a righteous life, if you can say that. And just, yeah, it was super, super deep. And it also created like this urgency inside me to know, like, hey, like, you only live one life. You know, we only have one life to live. Are you living it to your fullest potential? Are you living out your purpose, right? And back then, I was not. I was nowhere close to the man that I am today. There might have been some glimpses here and there, but I wasn't devoted, disciplined, and dedicated as I am now. So, I mean, it still hurts, right? So obviously, but reflecting on it, like, it really helped me to become who I am. And sometimes we got to go through the darkness to see the light, right? So I feel like that's what I experienced. And in regards to grieving, I don't think there's a right way of doing it. You know, I don't think there's like a handbook, like, hey, if you feel like this, no, you know. I cried a lot. I would cry. I mean, I'm still crying, as you can see, because it's painful. And, you know, I'd find myself in the car just crying, or You know, me and my dad had this song that we would listen to by Intocable, El Amigo Que Se Fue. And every time I hear that song, I just think of him and it brings me to tears, you know, and it went from tears of sadness to now tears of joy, you know? So, you know, it gets better over time. So if you're someone who's experienced that or is experiencing that, just know that, it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel. It's okay to feel that pain. You know, you just lost someone who you truly loved, your best friend, and there's no right way or wrong way to deal with it. Just know that at times like that, at times like these, you want to be around those who you love. You want to be with your support system, your support group, whether it be other family members, or your best friend, or just someone that you can open up to and just express how you feel. Because, you know, it's tough and sometimes it can get dark, you know, really dark. And so I just want to let you know from experience that I've experienced that myself, and I've been through that, and it gets better, right? And I know you probably right now can't see that, but trust me, it gets better. It doesn't mean you love that person less, right? It's just you have an understanding of that, you know, this is just our flesh, you know, we have our souls, and I truly believe that, like I said, my dad is still with me. And so for anybody else who's dealing with it, just, you know, feel free to reach out to me if you need to talk to someone, and just share and open up, right? So I just know that it's something that I'm very thankful that I had my family to help me with that, because if I was alone, I feel like I'd be in a very dark place, probably doing something stupid, right? So, you know, life is too short. We all have a purpose, and, you know, it's something that we all have to go through. You know, one day I'm going to be dead. I hope you guys are all at my funeral, but it's part of life. And so, you know, when I feel like when that happens, just focus on the loved ones that you still have, right? The people that are still there for you, whether it's for me, like my mom, my sisters, my brother, my nephews, and pour into them. And for me being the oldest boy, I felt like, you know, my dad was super funny. Everybody looked up to him. And so, it's certainly not some shoes that I can replace, but it's something that I have to help others overcome, and in his absence be more present for them and for him and for me, right? So yeah, guys, so that's part of the story. Right now we'll get a little more deep on some more recent things, but I think for me that was, like I said, the beginning of my journey, and how I started to spiritually start working inwards and healing, right? So